The following story happened during the summer of 2013. Back then, I was still a law school student. One day, while I was on my way home after a very tiring day, a nice little girl stood up to me while I was walking and listening to some music. I took my earphones off and looked at her. I guess her age was averaging between 5 and 6 years old. She suddenly held my hand while begging me to help her, as her mother needed help. She said, "I don't know why. I don't know for what reason, but I found myself walking with her. We walked together for about 9 or 10 streets. She was still holding my hand all the way until we reached a public park, which was full of trees and different types of swings and some games for kids. But yet, the garden was completely empty. I don't know why. During that time of the day, most gardens used to have families and their kids around. Once we entered the garden, she pulled my hand and walked towards the far end of the garden. I gradually started to notice an old woman sitting on a wooden bench under the tree. The girl said cheerfully to her mother, "Mom, someone finally agreed to come," but her mother was silent. She didn't even blink. Moments later, I heard her slowly saying, "I'm sorry, my daughter," but as soon as I heard her voice, the blood dried up in my veins. There was something wrong with her voice. My body began to shake in an unnatural way. There was something unusual about her voice. I felt that I wanted to escape from this place as quickly as possible. Then suddenly the little girl said cheerfully, "Wanna play with me?" Before I answered her, she was running in the direction of a big slide. On the other hand, her mother said with a frightening voice the same phrase again. "I am sorry, my daughter." I still cannot see her whole face. She didn't move an inch from her place since we entered, but the way she speaks was terrifying. My body was shivering, and the cold sweat has begun to cover my face. Behind me, the girl was climbing up the slide. In front of me, the woman sitting without a movement. And my side, the sun is setting and the darkness has begun to fill the whole place. I asked her anxiously, "Your daughter brought me here. May I know why, and why me in particular, exactly at this moment?" As if she was awaiting my question, she suddenly shouted in fear as she called to her daughter, "Jenny." Her voice was frightening. I heard a hitting sounds from the side of the slides that the girl was playing on. I was surprised when I saw the girl on the ground after falling from above the slide, and now she is on the ground, not moving. Her face is pale, her eyes are fading, and a pool of blood expanding around her brain slowly. I was barely breathing at this moment. I wanted to run. I wanted to call the police, the ambulance, but fear was crippling me in my place. I couldn't move. I looked in the direction of the woman's seat chair once again. She was still sitting in place. I didn't understand. "Why are you not trying to help your daughter? Why don't you try to find her?" At this moment, I was able to move. I walked towards the woman and decided to turn around her and actually talk to her and see her face. And at that very moment, I saw something I'll never forget among my lifetime. I screamed with horror as I returned back quickly. The woman was. She was dead. Her face was blue, her eyes swollen, her tongue peeking out from between her lips. And I noticed a blue scarf wrapped around her neck tightly. This scarf was tied to the tree above it. The lady was hanged to death. Very slowly she said, "I'm sorry, my daughter. I couldn't bear more than this." The world started to spin, and within a few moments, everything turned black. I fainted. When I gained my conscience again and opened my eyes, I was on the ground. The world was very dark, and the garden was completely empty. I shook with fear and ran as fast as I could towards my home. After arriving home, I started searching on the internet until I encountered news that made me understand exactly what happened, and even understand the reason behind the apologies that the woman kept saying over and over for her daughter Jenny. This girl was playing around in the park and her mother was distracted from her for moments. It was enough for the girl to fall from the slide and die immediately. The mother entered into a fit of grief. She was feeling that her negligence was the cause of her daughter's death, so that she returned the garden and hung herself next to this slide. That's why the lady was saying sorry for her girl over and over again. After that, their souls never left the park. The poor little girl and her depressed mother's soul. This park has been deserted since that day. All people avoid it and stay away from it. But I know that they are there, and I know they're waiting for their next victim. Hey guys, thanks for listening. This is Liam. That was all for today's episode. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more daily horror stories. Till next time.